All right, let's have a real conversation about Medicaid and generational wealth because I think it's an interesting conversation. We think of Medicaid as a low income program that is meant for people that can't afford services and it's provided by the state, right? But it's not really accurate. Most people that I know who have, you know, mid-level amounts of resources. And I can tell you, I know I have clients who have, maybe not a ton of savings, a little bit of savings, but they have a house, right? And they don't want that to go to the state or and be ultimately when they're gone. So they've done certain things to protect those assets, and as a byproduct of that, they have you know, they have created a scenario where they are now applicable, can go on Medicaid, right? There are other people that have fairly sizable 401ks or savings accounts that they're just not going to be able to spend it all, right? And most of that is because their plan is to go on Medicaid at some point and to allow their Social Security to be taken and to protect those whatever cash assets they have or liquid assets they have, and make sure they go to the next generation, right? Many times those decisions aren't even made by the individual who has the assets or has the money, right? And so, as we look to demonize the Medicaid program, I think we have to be very careful because I'm going to tell you that a great portion of our generational wealth that moves from generation to generation does so because of the laws and the regulations that allow Medicaid to step in. There are many, many people who had good to great jobs their entire career, have worked very well, have done all the right things, and they will protect their generational assets. They will protect the things that they earned, and they will go on Medicaid when they have to go into a nursing home or assisted living. It is not only a possibility, but it is a practical part of our culture now. There are, and this is why that Medicaid has rules. There's a 5-year look back, right? You have to no longer have those assets, or at least they must be pretty small. There are exceptions for housing and other things, but I think at the end of the day, you have to get real about where that Medicaid money is going, and it is going pretty well distributed across all income levels, and that includes high income levels. There are high income earners that will ultimately be on Medicaid because their life situation will dictate it, and their families do not want their assets to be sucked up by the Medicaid program, so they will do things to protect it, like a living trust. And so, that's just the reality of the world we live in. It is the reality of the system, and what the system allows and doesn't allow. And so, when we are looking to cut major portions out of Medicaid, we're not taking money away from poor people. We're taking money away from our entire aging group, which is going to be people at all levels of income. And I can assure you that there are doctors and lawyers who have been on Medicaid, right? And that's probably not just a few. These are people that just got to a certain age and needed support that a family couldn't provide, and as a byproduct, the family came to the decision to start to move the generational wealth into a protected scenario, and that money is going to go on. You may not agree with it, you may disagree with it, but the idea that this Medicaid is just for poor people, I think we need to really make sure that we understand what's really going on. And if you, given the rules of the road here, have assets and you are worried that you will need significant health care, you need to go talk to a trust attorney, because if you don't, your money will just get sucked into your long-term care, and you know, and so it's a viable thing to do and to think about. But I just want to make sure that we all are aware, and thinking kind of honestly about what the Medicaid program offers to every single person, even the person who's got $1 million in their 401k, because ultimately, whether or not you have that $1 million or not will depend on your estate planning and not on anything else. And whether or not you go on Medicaid or not will be based on your estate planning. So it's an important point. It's an important point, and just want to make sure you be aware.